What's the most morally disgusting thing you've ever seen someone do? In Ireland, they have these teenage discos. They're brilliant and allow kids from all over to socialize in a genuine nightclub with club music, etc. Only difference between the teenage disco was no alcohol. I was 13 years old, out with the kids from my area. We headed for the bathroom and as usual there was almost a crowd to get in. Eventually we got in. I was at a urinal when I overheard a Belfast accent. Now, Belfast boys were known for fighting in groups, knives, blades, etc. so I kept my head down and finished. I walked back to let my friend go when I noticed they seemed to be picking on a fella and wouldn't let them out of a cubicle. It was almost humiliating to watch. But, I walked out. I stood outside the door and mentioned to two of my friends if they were up for a scrap fight. One laughed, looked in and saw what was going on and said fuck that, as there was probably 8 or more Belfast lads in the toilet, not to mention how many others in the club that arrived in buses. I could hear the smack of an open hand slap and cackles of the Belfast lads and I basically snapped. I walked in like a little hard man, walked up to the biggest one I saw, jumped up and head-butted him. Within seconds the toilets were full of teenagers punching and kicking everyone. I remember something cold on my arm, my chest and just below my right jawbone. It felt like the fight was going on forever, but I was dragged out by a bouncer, then lying on the floor and everyone screaming. The music cut off and lights came on. I could feel myself all sticky and was trying to get away. Then I noticed the bouncer's hands were covered in blood and his shirt was all little droplets. I actually blacked out and woke up with paramedic, police, and friends wheeling me out of the club into an ambulance. I had been stabbed / 7 times. It was a foolish thing to get involved in, looking back, but I don't regret what I did. I did it for the right reasons. After I'd been stitched and stapled up, a blood transfusion and asleep, I went around to my dad and brothers. They told me what had happened and that the police wanted to speak to me. So naturally, I can't remember was my answer to everything the police asked. The next evening was Saturday. My dad was speaking to a man and woman over by the door of the room and the woman was crying. My dad introduced me to them. They told me that their son was being bullied and it was the kid I'd helped. They actually kept in contact with my dad. The boy's father actually got my oldest brother a brilliant job over it all and to this day we're all still in contact. It turned out, Ryan was born with a hole in his heart. He lives a normal life, but one can tell there's something up with him medically and I say that respectfully. The boys that I'd been fighting with had been bullying and mocking him for years. That had been his first night out and he was out with his cousin and his friends, but I guess they got separated in the crowds. Bullying is something that's always absolutely disgusted me, never mind someone with a disability or medical condition. Ryan had an operation recently, so he's taking it easy, but we're currently planning a night out together to go womanizing for his birthday. Despite bullying, mocking, health issues, trouble socializing, and all the rest of the various medical details, he soldiers on through life with a brilliant attitude towards life. When life gets Ryan down, he gets right back up and goes twice as hard. People like Ryan are salt of the earth and tend to be overlooked or ignored, but I'm genuinely proud to know him. I might have helped him once, but he genuinely saved my life during the worst time of my life.